What is the difference between using can or could versus using will or would? A lot of people have confusion on which one to use. Some will even say that can and could and will and would are interchangeable and it really doesn't matter. But the majority of grammarians will disagree with that, and I also disagree with the idea that both are interchangeable. There are distinct differences between can, could, and will and would, and that's what I would like to explain today. What's the basic difference between using can or could and will and would? Well, can is present tense, and the past tense of can is could. Can present tense, could past tense. The same is true with will and would. Will is present tense, and would is going to be past tense. And so remember that if your sentence starts with a present tense verb, try to keep other actions in the sentence consistent in that same present tense. As in, I can stay up all night if I want to. Can stay, present tense. If I want to, want is present tense. Or in the past tense, I could stay up all night if I wanted to. Could stay, could is past tense. So your sentence starts in past tense and ends in wanted. Again, you are consistent in keeping the sentence in the same tense. The same is true with will and would. I will stay up if I want to. Will stay, present tense. Want to, present tense. Or I would stay up if I wanted to. Would stay, past tense, and wanted to, also in the past tense. So now that we have that out of the way, what is the basic difference between using can or could versus using will and would? Now, can and could both mean ability to do something. Just that you have the ability, it doesn't mean that you necessarily will do it. It's not definite, but you certainly have the ability to do something. For example, I can stay up if I want to stay up. I can stay up. I have the ability. I may choose not to, but I do have that ability to stay up if I want to. Or I could stay up if I wanted to. Again, you have the ability to stay up all night, but only if you want to. Not necessarily that you actually will. It's just a possibility. Now, let's contrast can and could with will and would. Will and would is a much stronger feeling. Will and would simply means that you're determined. There's a determination in that action. There's a strong intention to carry out that action. That's very different from can and could, which just means you have the ability. When you say you will or you would do something, that means strong emotion and that you have every intention of carrying it out. It might not happen, but your intentions are much stronger. For example, I will stay up all night if I need to. You're determined to stay up there, right? It's not just ability. Or I would stay up all night if I needed to. So let's take a look at some sentences now to see how can, could, and will, would imply different emotions and different intentions through several sentences. I can drive you if you ask me to. Or I could drive you if you asked me to. There, yeah, I can drive you. I've got that ability. I may choose not to on certain things, but I certainly have that ability. Versus will and would. I will drive you to school if you ask me. Or I would drive you to school if you ask me. There's a determination, a clear intention of doing that action, not just the ability. I can sleep on the plane, or I could sleep on the plane if I wanted to. That means you've got the ability. You may choose not to, but you certainly feel that you have that ability. Versus, I will sleep on the plane. Or I would sleep on the plane if I flew more than 3 hours on the flight. There you have a clear intention. There's certainty that you will sleep on the flight. Now here's a different situation. Let's say that there's a hypothetical situation where you're saying, if this happens, then this is what I would do. If. That's a hypothetical. The same thing is going to be true. Can, could, intention, but only intention, will, would, determination, and clear intention. Here's the first sentence. If I finish my work, I can go to the movies. Or past tense, if I finished my work, I could go to the movies. That means if I finish my work, I have the ability to go if I want to. I may not. I may be too tired, but I've got that ability. I may think about it. Versus will and would, determination. If I finish my work, I will go to the movies. Or if I finished my work, I would go to the movies. There's a clear indication of carrying out the action. It's not just hypothetical in that I might do it. If I work hard, I can get a raise. Or if I worked hard, I could get a raise. That means you would be in the running for a raise. You may not get it when you work hard, but you certainly would be in the pool of people who might get a raise. Versus if your boss told you, if you work harder, I will give you a raise. In that case, you would use will or would. If I work hard, I will get a raise. Or if I worked harder, I would get a raise. The third situation with can, could, and will, would is a little bit trickier. That's if you are asking a question. For example, if you walked up to a stranger and you asked, can you lend me $1? Or could you lend me $1? That means, ooh, you've got the ability, I know, but I'm not quite sure you're going to do it or not. There's a little doubt in my mind. I've never asked you this before. Then you would use can and could. But if you're asking your older brother or sister or your mom or dad or a really good friend that you've gotten money from before, you would probably use will or would, which means you are pretty determined, pretty definite that they're going to say yes because they've said yes before. Like, hey buddy, will you lend me $1? That means, yeah, you're pretty sure they will and you're simply asking them out of politeness, but you're pretty sure that they're going to say, oh, sure I will. Or, mom, dad, would you lend me $1 for now? Well, you know that your mom and dad have lent you money before and you know pretty much that they're going to do it. So will or would be more appropriate because in your mind, there's little doubt that they're going to say no, they're going to say yes. Now there is a little idiomatic expression in the last example using the phrase like to. If you're going to use like to in a sentence, you will almost always be putting the word would, W-O-U-L-D, in front of it. Not will, not can, and not could. Always would. For example, would you like to take me to dinner? Would you like to take me to the movies? You would never say, will you like to take me to the movies? Or can you like to take me to the movies? Or could you like to take me to the movies? It's always going to be using would in front of or next to the little idiomatic expression like to. That's the only key exception to this. So in summary, remember, can and will are present tense, could and would are past tense, and make sure in most cases your sentences reflect a consistent tense throughout the sentence. But secondly, can and could simply means the ability to do something, but you may not do it. Will and would simply means a strong determination or a very strong intention to carry out that emotion. And there's your difference. And hopefully you now understand the differences between those two. Thank you again for your attention. Have a good day.